And I think when you have, you're close to somebody, a neighbor, a friend, a family member who has suffered from addiction, you know how devastating it is, and you want to help others. You don't want anybody in that hell.
Hi, this is Lynn Widmeyer. In my home state of West Virginia, we hear a lot about drugs, their overuse, their sale, everything bad. And I thought, you know what, we need to talk about the people in our community who are helping people overcome these addictions and problems and finding their way back to a normal, healthy life. So I am here in Shepherdstown today with Jan Hafer, who is a recovery coach with Grace. So I am going to ask her to tell us a little bit about what it means to be a recovery coach and a little bit about Grace.
Well, thank you, Lynn. I'm really happy to be here with you, and I hope lots and lots of people get this information. Before we start, I just want to say something to everybody out there. People die every day from overdoses of drugs, and I have my little pin on. This is a symbol for recognizing overdose and, you know, what we need to do about it. So that's at the heart of what I do. That's why I'm a recovery coach, because it's just unacceptable.
So that pin signifies an interest in this problem.
Yes,
okay.
yes, and then we can beat it. But it's going to take everybody, including you out there. So anyway, thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm happy to. Okay. So what does it mean to be a recovery coach?
Well, a recovery coach is a person who has training in actually life coaching, which many of you are familiar with, I think. And, you know, if somebody has an issue in their life that they want to solve, they might not need a counselor, a psychologist, or a psychiatrist. They would need somebody who can walk them through.
If you could even find one who's available, let me say that.
That's right. Maybe start simply with life coaching and, you know, try to order your life and hone in on what your goal is. So when you're dealing with somebody in recovery from addiction, what you do is you work with them in an active listening mode. You're not telling anybody what to do ever. It's not that, it's not this, it's tell me what your life goal is. What do you want to do? What's bothering you?
Because those types of insights into your life, I guess, are directly related to whether you feel you need to use drugs. That you have to sort of get your act together in life.
That's right. Well, that's how you do it. By, in many instances, you start with, my life isn't working for me. What do I want? What are my goals? What are my dreams? And then a person like me can help you work toward that goal. And it, you know, if somebody's in active addiction, it's all about getting off drugs.
Getting off the drugs.
However, to be able to think it's even possible is you have to imagine what your life could be like and what you're worth. What you
to think
worth.
It's possible. That really strikes a chord.
And when you're addicted to drugs, often you feel that you're worthless, you're a terrible person, you've done terrible things. Why is God punishing me? I mean, you know, it runs the gamut, but why are you in this situation? So hopefully I can listen. That's number one, it's listening, not telling, not talking. I'm talking a lot now, but
well, it's a topic you clearly are interested in. Yeah, well, tell us about Grace, and which is the group that you're affiliated with, who does this wonderful service.
Grace is the acronym for Greater Recovery and Community Empowerment. That's a mouthful, and I can hardly ever remember what it stands for. But really, it was founded by John Unger, and he was one of our state senators, and he's a preacher.
Wonderful.
I think a lot of people in the Eastern Panhandle know John. And his wife, Marty Steiner Unger, they started this organization, but they were inspired by going down in southern West Virginia when we had those floods the last time. And it was all about empowering the community to help themselves get back on their feet. And so with the opioid crisis just raging in our state, they came up with this idea. And, you know, we've got like over 2,000 trained recovery coaches in the state.
And all volunteer.
All volunteer. Now, you get certification where if you want to hang a shingle and charge money, you can. But the people who work through Grace are all volunteers.
You know, one of the, of course, West Virginia gets always as, you know, the drug center of the United States. But years ago, there was a survey and it found that in West Virginia, it topped all other states in neighborliness and caring. And Grace and people like you are perfect examples of that caring for neighbors.
I think that's accurate because we may have the biggest, we're #1 in overdose deaths in the United States, but we have people like me, like you, anybody can do this. I mean, you don't have to have any, you gotta get this training, but it's not, you know, it's not like a college degree.
Well, how do people who do need help, how do they find you?
Okay.
How do they find a Grace counselor?
Well, the fastest way to do it is to go to strengthengrace.com, and it has the information if you need a coach.
And we're going to put that.
Yeah, and they'll tell you everything you need to do. And then I, as a recovery coach, I tell people often, you know, I work it in a conversation sometimes, that I'm a recovery coach because I want people to know. And I get people call me, or they.
Well, how did you get interested in being a recovery coach?
Well, I have the best reason of all. I have a family member who suffered from addiction, and I often, you know, filled with despair for years. This was
It must have been so hard.
Very hard, and there was not hope or help for me. I felt back then, but then, you know, I do believe in the grace of God, and that's exactly why my family member recovered. And
Yay!
you know, I mean, people recover. They do. It's not hopeless. Yeah.
It's so encouraging and hopeful to hear you say that.
Well,
people do recover.
They do, and it seems impossible, especially to the person who's suffering from addiction. But if you get a little bit of help, I think you can do it. I'm always hopeful. And I do want to say, the reason I say, before I became a recovery coach, I went to an event. John Unger was speaking, and he talked about what a recovery coach does. And I didn't really know, but the words he used resonated with me. And he said, you know, recovery coaches just walk with the person. They just walk alongside. They don't lead. They don't follow. They just walk with them.
Oh, and what a wonderful image.
And that's what the person needs, is just somebody beside them who can hear all the bad stuff, hear all the despair, you know, and help them move forward. So it's really, it's kind of simple in a way. I said, I can do that. I can walk with them. And I think when you have, you're close to somebody, a neighbor, a friend, a family member who has suffered from addiction, you know how devastating it is, and you want to help others. You don't want anybody in that hell. I mean, it is hell for everybody. Everybody in the family, everybody who's...
Do you help other members of the family too?
I do have, I have worked with moms and dads and siblings, yeah.
Now, you are obviously very good at what you do. Would you like to share the award that you were given? You're too modest to bring it up yourself, but I'm not. So I want you to share that award as Volunteer of the Year.
Well, this was given by Grace organization in West Virginia in February of 2022. And I was really surprised, but for some reason they picked me.
Most the financial support for Grace is donations, and
it's a nonprofit.
But now the state is going to get, you know, $1 gazillion with these opioid settlements. Do you anticipate that part of it will help you in setting up training workshops or getting the word out?
I hope Grace gets some of this money. I mean, the money, because West Virginians and Americans were wronged by these drug companies. It is horrendous what they
really
did.
was
I think they
awful.
should be in jail. Oh, but we got money. And so money will go towards not only, I hope, recovery coaches, which is not medical treatment. You know, there's medically assisted treatment that's done by certified people in the medical field, et cetera, et cetera. We need all of this stuff. We need people who will hire people who have been suffering from addiction and are on the road to recovery. You have to trust in them, but then there's things we can do as an organization. We can do daily drug tests. We can go to the site. This is solvable, but it takes everybody.
Well, I think everybody should write their state reps and tell them to put some money into recovery coaches and groups like Grace.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your life as a recovery coach. But you have another life, and I want to let you give a plug for this wonderful space we're sitting in, which is called Evolve in downtown Shepherdstown. Tell us a little about that.
Yes, there's other aspects of my life, and one of them is that Elise Bach, my business partner and friend, have this little space in Shepherdstown, and it's basically a pop-up space. So if you want to show your art, you want to sell something, you want to have a workshop, you want to have a party, a private event, whatever, you can reach us. It's evolveshepherdstown.com, and
It's such a great idea. I mean, you hear about pop-up, dining places, but to have a pop-up establishment that supports people selling their stuff, it's fabulous. And I did want to say about Jan that you are a native West Virginia.
Yeah, I am.
So you were born.
I was born in Maryland, but I grew up in Middle Way in Shepherdstown. And moved away for probably 25, 30 years, I don't know how long, and I came back.
Well,
and
that's what we like to hear. We like people coming home.
That's what I did, and I'm so glad I did because my life is full.
Well, we're glad you came back too. Thank you so much, Jan. I really enjoyed it, and I think, as I said, you hear so much negative stuff about the drugs in West Virginia, and how wonderful to hear of a group and people who are trying to overcome that difficulty and bring people back.
Can be done.
Thank you.